We invite the next speaker, Michelin Foster, PhD in Metaphysics, member of the Theosophical Society of the United States of America, California. Micheline was born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, USA. In the 1970s, she studied at the University of Metaphysics in Los Angeles. She received a doctorate in metaphysics. She worked as the esoteric director of the World Meditation Center in Ojai, California. A member of the Theosophical Society of the USA, she has been studying theosophy since 1982 and Lodge in Los Angeles, California. In 1992, she was ordained a bishop of the church, and since then, she has headed it. She worked as a priest and author of 19 books and articles about metaphysics, meditation, and spirituality, the last of which that was printed is about a trip to Nepal. Dear Mrs. Foster, PhD in Metaphysics, member of the Theosophical Society of the USA, point of view towards karma.
Good afternoon or good evening. It's 4 o'clock here where I am. As we celebrate coming together and sharing the ancient wisdom in a wonderful form presented to us by Helena Petrovich Blavatsky, we become well aware of the illusionary effervescence of time, which appears all too material to us here on the physical plane. In our everyday circumstances, time seems to run in a linear direction. We feel that we move from here to there in a progressive flow, but do we? Yes, we seem to move on the rails of time. However, it is karma which carries us to our destiny. It is a spiritual evolution of the inner immortal man that forms the fundamental tenets of the occult sciences. As we consider this tenet, two major foci come to our attention: that there is only one universal life which functions independently of matter, and two, that there are individual intelligences which animate the different manifestations of this principle. This one life closely related to one law, which governs the world of being. That law is karma. This law of karma can be simply understood as action or an effect-producing cause. Within our humanity, it is an esoteric sense. It displays itself as quite a different thing in its far-reaching moral effects. We would say that what goes around and comes around, but in actuality, karma is an unerring law of retribution. It is a constantly ever-present, impersonal, and active principle. At the beginning of the journey, it is said that at the first flutter of renascent life, Sabbahat, the immutable radiance of the immutable darkness, unconscious in eternity, passes at every new rebirth of the cosmos from an inactive state to one of intense activity, that it differentiates and then it begins its work through that differentiation. This work is karma. How is it said to do this? Madame Blavatsky speaks of the cycles coming into activity as the one cosmic atom becomes 7 atoms on the plane of matter, and each is transformed into a center of energy. That same atom becomes the 7 rays on the plane of spirit, and the 7 creative forces of nature, radiating from the root essence, follow. One, the right, and the other, the left path, separate till the end of the kalpa, and yet in close embrace. What unites them? Karma. These atoms emanate from the central point, also emanate new centers of energy. Under the influence of Fohat, they begin their work from within to the without, and thus they multiply other major and minor centers. This becomes involuntary and evolution to us, involution and evolution to us. Each moment within involution and evolution forms roots or developing causes of new effects from the worlds and the man-bearing globes, down to the genus, species, and classes of all the 7 kingdoms. We only are aware at this stage of our development of 4 of these kingdoms. This work is done by those who are known as the blessed workers, for theirs is the knowledge and the power of guiding the impulses of the cosmic energy in the right direction. In Meditation Deep, we come to the question, at what point did cyclic involution and evolution become aware? What forces and attributes bring this cosmic event to fruition? We need to raise our consciousness to the comprehension of a system of coordination so far outreaching in time and space that it transcends all human observation. It is a circumstance which signalizes the power of man to go beyond the limitations of changing and inconsistent matter and assert his superiority over all unstable and perishable forms of being. There is a method in the succession of events and in the relation of coexistent things, which the mind of man seizes hold of, and by means of this is able to see a clue. He runs backward and forward over aeons of material history, of which human experience can never testify. He begins to grasp that all life is connected. It is one. Events germinate and unfold. They all have a past which is connected with their present, and we feel well justified confidence that a future is appointed, which will be similarly connected with the present and the past. There is a continuity and flow in the unity of history. It seems that a fundamental law makes its presence felt at this juncture, the law of evolution, or to phrase it for our purposes, the law of correlated successiveness or organized history. This is illustrated in the changing phases of every single maturing system of results. This results open to vistas of time and space and finite causation, and lift awareness up toward an apprehension of a supreme intelligence. Where does a human or humanity stand at this point? We are each born under a certain sign, and yes, our destiny is written in the stars. This is not fatalism, for man is a free agent during his stay on Earth. He cannot escape his ruling destiny, but he has a choice of 2 paths, one that leads him in a direction where he can reach the goal of goodness and harmony, or the other, a goal of misery. Each individual can choose, for there are external and internal conditions which affect the determination of his or her will upon their actions, and it is in this their power to follow either of the 2 choices. Each human weaves like a spider a web around himself. This destiny is guided either by a heavenly voice of the invisible prototype outside of us, or by our intimate astral or inner man, who is too often the evil genus of the embodied entity called man. Both these lead the outward man, but one of them must prevail. And from the very beginning of the invisible fight, the stern and implacable law of compensation steps in and takes its course, following faithfully its fluctuations. When the last strand is woven and a man is seemingly enwrapped in the network of his own doing, then he finds himself completely under the authority of his self-made destiny, or it can carry him like a feather in a whirlwind, raised by his own actions. For this is karma. Karma is also a reaction to prior events and actions in nature. There is a purpose in every important act of nature, whose acts are all cyclic and periodical. But these spiritual forces are usually confused with the purely physical, and thusly they're denied. Therefore, they remain unknown to science because they are left unexamined. Madame Blavatsky goes on to expand the more common approaches which most of us have to karma, in an explanation that there are many cycles involved, all running at the same time. There are great racial cycles which affect equally all the nations and tribes included in the special race. But there are minor and national as well as tribal cycles within those, which run independently of each other. These are referred to as karmic cycles in the Eastern esotericism. In the ancient Greek tradition, karma is called Nemesis. She is a dreaded goddess, absolute, immutable, and without attributes as a principle. In actuality, this principle is ourself, both as nations and individuals, which propel her into action and give the impulse to her direction. Karma, Nemesis, is the creator of nations and mortals. But once created, it is they who make either a fury or rewarding angel of her. Karma is as a force of wheels, within wheels, within wheels. However, once the wheel of an action touches manifestation, it continues on its track until the very end of the journey, where karma is equalized and ended. It is said that triune fates and ever more mindful furies are her attributes only on earth and begotten by ourselves. There is no return from the path that she cycles over, yet those paths are of our own making. For it is we, collectively and individually, who prepare them. Karma Nemesis is a synonym of providence, minus design, goodness, and every other finite attribute and qualification so unphilosophically attributed to her. The student of esotericism identifies providence with karma Nemesis and is aware that it guards the good and watches over them in this and in future lives, and that it punishes the evildoer, even unto his seventh rebirth. It is said that once an entity throws into perturbation even the smallest atom in the finite world, in the infinite world of harmony, it will be readjusted to balance. It is not therefore karma that rewards or punishes, but it is we who reward or punish ourselves according to our nature, abiding by the laws which harmony depends upon, or we break them. Let us consider the positive side of this discussion. What if humans worked in union and harmony instead of ignorance and fear? What a world we would have. With right knowledge, actions of right human relationships, and a confident conviction that our neighbors would no more hurt us than we would think of harming them. It seems that instantly 2/3 of the world's evil would vanish into thin air. Would no man hurt his brother? Karma nemesis would have neither cause to work for nor weapons to act through. It is the constant presence in the midst of every element of strife and opposition, and the division of races, nations, tribes, societies, and individuals into Cains and Abels, wolves and lambs, that is the chief cause of the ways of providence. We consider ourselves respectable and imagine that we are pursuing a royal highway to civility and duty. And then we complain when the dark shadows of our true motives are revealed. We stand bewildered before the mystery of our own making and the riddle of life that we will not solve, and then accuse the Sphinx of devouring us, the Sphinx of Providence. When one breaks the laws of harmony or the laws of life, one must be prepared to fall into the chaos which one has produced. For according to the same writer, the only conclusion one can come to is that these laws of life are their own avengers, and consequently that every avenging angel is only a typified representation of their reaction. There is a law of occult dynamics that states a given amount of energy expended on the spiritual or astral plane is productive of far greater results than the same amount expended on the physical objective plane of evidence. Alas, for this to be accomplished, man's spiritual intuition needs to become fully opened, which will not happen as long as he or she is wearing these coats of skin in which we're currently appearing. Each human will then begin to act from within instead of following the impulses from without, namely those produced by the physical senses and gross selfish bodies. Until then, the only plaintiff to the evils of life is union and harmony, a brotherhood in Act 2 and altruism, not simply in name. Consider the fact that the suppression of one single bad cause will suppress not only one, but a variety of bad effects. Evil, like goodness, has the ability to expand exponentially. Still, unity in thought and action, with the addition of research into the mysteries of being, will always prevent some, while trying to comprehend that which has hitherto remained to them a riddle, from creating additional causes in a world already filled with chaos. Knowledge of karma gives the conviction that if virtue is distress and vice in triumph makes atheists of mankind, it is because mankind has ever shut its eyes to the great truth that man himself is his own savior or destroyer. As we look around our planet, the species of mankind currently believes that all of this is for his own aggrandizement and salvation. When I was writing this, I was sitting under a Clarosa spitova tree, a large, lush tree with deep pink flowers covering all over it. I observed a beautiful orange and black butterfly flitting from flower to flower. Does she know the inner workings of the great plan? Does she ponder as we do the great laws of the universe? Or does she, at this point in her existence, fulfill her place in the one work of which we are all a part? At the end of this Manvantara, who will know? Who will remember? Perhaps only the butterfly and her companion, the tree. Namaste.
Yeah, Michelin Foster, thank you so much. And this applause is from
здесь находится в Сочи.
who are right here in the hall right now. It was a great report. Dear Mrs. Foster, your experience in communicating with people from different countries of the world during your trips, each of which changes the fate of both yours and those whom you help, and this effect of indifference gives such easiness in learning and discovering such complex and simple concepts as brotherhood. And your report, dear Michelina, is filled with practice of what you've experienced in your life. And that is why the sound of brotherhood is not us from somewhere filled with
Честное и искреннее.
dead
Вам за
definitions.
правду.
It is real, it is what you feel. It's sincere.
Thank you.
Thank you.